A bus driver never has to pull over to put gas in the bus.
It's like filling up your car while driving down the road.
Many municipalities are risk-averse states, all forms of government. They like to think they want to be on the leading edge, but no one wants to be on the bleeding edge. You can just drive through. There's a gantry, sensors in the pavement, and within 95, soon to be 98% accuracy, it will tell you the municipality or the interstate or the Secretary of Transportation if that truck is overweight or not.
How do we bring this here? Where are your conversations going when it comes to maybe federal or state policymaking and technology? Is there a manufacturer who is specializing in this?
There are a couple of manufacturers. The lead one is the one we saw called Electrion. I think they're like a plane circling around, waiting for the right runway to land on. Because they had this thing, and it's golden, as they say.
Yeah.
But no one's quite ready to take the plunge. Think of the Minnesota Bridge or the Sanibel Causeway after Hurricane Ian. The Sanibel Causeway was up and running 2 weeks after the hurricane. Why can't we do that all the time? People ask me, why did that Baltimore Bridge collapse so catastrophically? The boat hit at one part. Well, that's because we're talking about 60-year-old design, man, and they don't design them that way anymore. But think of that bridge times 1,000, a million. They're all over the country. We have to get pretty serious about putting what we know now into actual practice.
Mike, tell me a little bit about who you are and your background and what you do now.
Well, I'm Mike Sturino. I'm president and CEO of the Illinois Road and Transportation Builders Association. My background, I call myself a recovering attorney and a recovering land planner. I still am a licensed practice law, and I still maintain my AICP credentials for planning. But I started in the association world about 16, almost 17 years ago. Road builders plucked me out of obscurity, and they liked my background and my ability to be an advocate for sensible policies and for increased funding. And in fact, I asked one of the old-time board members, I said, Charlie, what's my job? He said, your job is to make the pie bigger.
I love that answer. Oh my gosh.
I am all for opportunity within my industry and creating a better quality of life for the public. That's what really motivates me.
Oh my goodness. Well, I love that we're talking, and you have been, informing me of so much of this transformational technology. I remember meeting with you a couple of years ago. You were telling me about electric vehicle charging. You recently went to Sweden.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what that trip was and what you learned on this trip.
So we have a division in the Illinois Road Builders called the Planning and Design Division. The IRTBA is wood slope. Those are the engineers. And we decided we want to be thought leaders, and we want to experience and become knowledgeable about the latest trends, mega trends and micro, so that we can better impart that wisdom and experience and knowledge to our agency partners. And by the way, get some work. So our first international thought leader trip was to Sweden in 2023 to check out their advances in electric vehicle charging. Everyone at the time, and they still are, was talking about electric vehicles, and the main, we felt the main stumbling block was range anxiety.
Yeah.
And you can put chargers out and you still have issues. So we wanted to see how they deploy chargers as rapidly as they did, because we struggled with that in the States. Illinois was no different than California and the other states, right? How to get that go. So that we visited with government officials from the city of Stockholm and from the country and from utilities, making sure their grid can handle all this. How they decided where to put the electric vehicle chargers stations within an urban environment. Very important for Chicago. Not everyone in big cities have garages where they can plug it in. Or even parking garage, public ones, you might not have as many chargers. So how do you do it at street level and maintain it properly at the right technology, at the right placement? And it was a fascinating demonstration. And I won't get into the details, because the best part of the story is when we took a ferry ride to the island of Gotland. Gotland is in the middle of the seas between Russia and Sweden.
Okay.
There's a big Air Force base there.
I imagine.
That will be the front line if there's ever a problem. And Gotland is this old medieval place. It's the main city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's beautiful.
Wow.
But right outside the walled city is a test track that they have installed electric charging within the pavement.
Incredible, right?
For wireless charging of vehicles. And you say, well, Mike, I heard there's one of those in Italy, which is true. Why didn't you go there? I would have loved to have gone there. But Sweden has a similar climate that Chicago does. So we wanted to see how this works in colder
weather, right?
And I am pleased to say it works remarkably well. Now, you'd also say, does this interfere with any other electronic equipment in the area? And they asked the Swedish Air Force that question. In fact, they didn't have to ask. The Swedish Air Force said, what are you doing?
Right.
So they sent a bunch of highly skilled engineers to check things out. And I said, well, what happened? They said, they didn't say no, so it must be okay.
Right.
And another question is, well, this is charging on the pavement. What happens if a wildlife walks over or a mom with a stroller?
Oh my gosh.
You think it's dangerous. It's not. Because think of induction cooktops. It only charges when the right piece of metal is on top of it. So if a raccoon is crossing the street and somehow gets a charge, that means there's a truck driving over it. So it has more to worry about than just the electric road. So we looked at it and we brought some of our officials from the Illinois Tollway, City of Chicago, and I'm pleased to say they were so impressed with it. They're rolling out their own pilot programs now.
I've seen some of these news stories. Chicago is doing some pilot. So this is charging a vehicle when it is driving on the road.
Or it can be stationary. You can put it in a parking lot and you don't have to get out, put a charger into your car. You just park there and it will just charge.
That is magic. That is magic.
But the technology has been with us for so long. It's really simple. They're copper coils encased in rubber under about 2.5, 3 inches of asphalt. And that's it. Now, the vehicle driving over it has to have the corresponding correct plate to read it and to charge the vehicle. So there could be some of the higher end electric vehicles that's factory installed, not all of them. But for trucks and buses, it's a value proposition to retrofit for a couple $1,000s could be worth. Think of all the savings that they don't have to buy all the chargers or.
Well, that's a major offset right there. I know buses are expensive regardless, right? And so if you're only talking about a minor increase for this and that it offsets the charging equipment, then you're in the positive, you're in the net, right?
Absolutely. And think about human error never comes into play. What if you install it improperly? What if the charger, you hit the charging station, it goes out, you have to replace it. Some chargers are temperamental and just don't last very long. So if you lose the charger and just set it wireless, you're cutting out major expense and rail question mark.
More resilient. So this was a pilot project they did out on the island.
Yes.
Now, are they implementing it?
They are.
Okay.
They see a big future for that for their truck fleet. As I said, that's where they see the import, because trucks are also a major pollutant and they're trying to electrify that fleet with various incentives, carrot and stick approach. So they're right now deploying about 100 kilometers of highway that's heavily traveled by trucks within the country to electrify that highway.
Okay.
One lane.
Right.
I don't know the details yet because I wasn't expecting to be interviewed. But as we were observing, you don't have to do it every single mile. You can have 1 mile charging and then skip a couple miles, share another mile.
Where it makes sense, where
Where it makes sense, and it doesn't require it to be continuously charged. Or a parking lot. If it sits overnight, your car is charged.
you went on this study mission. you've come back to the United States. You are leading this effort in Illinois and Chicago. Tell me about the efforts here. Like you have a pilot project in Chicago to do this.
2 of them.
Okay.
So City of Chicago Fleets is doing a more stationary, and they have a mandate to become heavily electric in their fleets, their cars, not the buses. That's a separate agency, Chicago Transit Authority, not necessarily the squad cars or the fire trucks, but as you can imagine, any municipality needs a number of cars and trucks. So they decided it makes sense to have it on the approach road into one of their major fleet parking facilities.
Okay.
And within the facility itself.
Yeah.
So they're still investigating how that's working. Tollway right now, the Illinois Tollway has a pilot program to do a small stretch to see really about constructability, resilience, and does it work?
Sure. Does it work?
Does it work? We have to get there. So it's slow going. I know it works because I was there and I saw it with my own eyes.
Sure.
We had given presentations to many agencies. I've talked to everyone from the edit CTA to the mayor's office, the tollway, various other union folks who were helpful to us in Springfield to push things along. And it's been met with a lot of oohs and ahs. We'd like to see that turn into more concrete action of let's get this rolling. Let's just do this.
Is there a manufacturer who is specializing in this? It feels like it's so unique and innovative. How would you spec it? You know what I mean? Like,
that's a great question. So how do they procure something that's unique? Single source procurement, perhaps. But there are a couple of manufacturers. The lead one is the one we saw called Electrion.
okay.
Electrion is an Israeli company, actually, but they are worldwide and they have a vision. But they need to really, in my view, I think they're like a plane circling around, waiting for the right runway to land on. Because they have this thing and it's golden, as they say.
Yeah.
But no one's quite ready to take the plunge. Many municipalities are risk adverse, states, all forms of government. They like to think they want to be on the leading edge, but no one wants to be on the bleeding edge.
Well, so what we know, I mean, this is road building, right? For that plane to land on a runway, you need some federal investment, maybe some grants, or the space has to be open for from a regulatory perspective.
Yes, regulatory for sure. I don't think there are that many impediments to it. But I think the bigger challenge is, you alluded to it, how to pay for this. It's not free. It's easy. The technology is not that difficult, but you do need equipment. You need the, devices along the roadway every 100 meters or so to make sure that's getting the juice for the road. So there's some costs there, but I always thought it could be a brilliant public-private partnership model. You charge the users. A tollway can charge extra for that and hold itself out. Say the Pennsylvania Turnpike says, yeah, you can drive on the interstate a little cheaper, but not only are you going to get a better experience on the turnpike, but you can get your car charged to boot. And that's worth some money to people. That's the convenience alone.
So you said that this is in some of the high-end vehicles. You're referring to the ability to receive an inductive charge.
Yes.
Is this in the Tesla Model 3 or the Model Y? Like, what are some of the cars that are even available to take advantage of this technology?
I know the Mustang has it factory installed.
Okay.
So I told Electrion, why don't you, out of IKEA, sell a mat that people can put on their garage floor, and you could just drive your car on it overnight, so you don't have to have any special equipment. And they said, yeah, we've been considering that. So, so if you're not a Mustang EV or the higher end Tesla, and I don't want to get which model it is, but it's not the $40,000 tech storage. This is the $80,000-$90,000 Tesla that is factory installed. Otherwise, to retrofit your car, it's not difficult. and Electron will sell you the equipment. It's a couple $1,000. Mechanic just
Yeah.
hooks up the wire to the right place, and away you go. And it also has the added benefit of being smart. So it can send a signal to whoever's providing the charge, and you will then be billed for that if that's what the tollway or turnpike or the city wants to do.
This sounds like the future.
Think about it.
I mean, this is like the future.
A bus driver never has to pull over to put gas in the bus or to charge the vehicle. They only have to pull over, for a ship change.
It's like filling up your car while driving down the road.
That's right. Think of the bombers that get refuel at African Care. But I don't have to land. It makes things so much more efficient.
I remember a couple of years ago, someone was like literally putting solar panels on the road. I thought that was ridiculous. This is not that, right? This is like induction. You're still on asphalt.
You're on asphalt. Yeah. You're on asphalt. It looks like a regular road.
Yeah.
It's perfectly safe, and it only activates when that right metal is over.
You still have the same friction, all the things that a road needs to operate. I thought like you can't just put solar panels on a road.
If there's snow on it, it doesn't impact it. Ice doesn't impact it. Hopefully, it's better maintained, so that there isn't scraping it. It's not going to impact it. Not when you are doing a new mill and overlay to get a smoother surface after 7-10 years. You just have to use some care, and presumably you'll know where they're but it's deep enough that they have enough equipment available now that it will impact it.
I'm ready to go to Sweden and check it out, but I'll start with going to Chicago first. You're always welcome. All right, that was amazing, and I want to ask you a little bit more about some of your insight to technology. Specifically, you mentioned some work in AI, and you had a recent trip to the Middle East.
Just a few weeks ago, we were in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. The royal family is investing heavily in their sovereign funds in AI, specifically for our purposes, how it's going to transform transportation. Whether it is identifying speeding and other violations, which is not particularly novel, but they are way ahead of it in terms of some of the privacy issues. Automatic ticket. Automatic. If you are the chief of police, you're going to get a ticket. If you're a bad guy, you're going to get a ticket. But you're not going to have a cop pulling you over. You're not going to have any kind of issues with that can escalate from that. If you have a broken taillight, you get a ticket for a broken taillight. Somebody's not pulling you over as a pretext. Sure. What I thought was also pretty darn interesting is they have something called weigh in motion. And people know about it. If some of the engineers say, well, I've heard that. That's fine. You've heard that. They're deploying it. Weigh in motion means you don't have to have truck scales off the side of the interstate anymore. You can just drive through. There's a gantry, sensors in the pavement. And within 95, soon to be 98% accuracy, it will tell you the municipality or the interstate or the Secretary of Transportation if that truck is overweight or not. And it also is going to tell the trucker's going to get it fine. So you can make trucking so much more efficient. They don't have to pull over anymore, right? You can catch the cheaters out there, and that's going to extend the life cycle of any interstate highway by not adding too many overweight trucks.
Like, yeah, that is yeah, that's a huge issue.
And think of it, it's just instant. They don't have to even slow down. They can catch them 70 miles an hour and they'll weigh it.
So they're out there leading on this AI. I mean, how do we bring this here? Hey, where are your conversations going when it comes to maybe federal or state policy making and technology? I mean, we're here.
Secretary Duffy has 3 words, the mantra for Department of Transportation. It's safety, it's building, and it's innovation.
I thought you were going to say safety, but that's good.
Can never emphasize safety enough. But I think AI can create a more safe environment. AI is going to change a lot of back office functions. I think we know that. The engineers who might spend 2 weeks answering an RFP can have AI help them, and they can spend those 2 weeks doing engineer stuff.
As long as it doesn't hallucinate.
I've heard that could be an issue, yes.
I've experienced it.
And I think the other issue with AI, there's a lot of fear, right? Of what does that mean to humans? Are we going to be replaced? Are we going to lose our jobs? Is AI to be trusted? Are they going to become sentient? These things, they're beyond my power. Or is AI going to be so intrusive and invasive that privacy is just a distant memory? Because in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, you're under constant surveillance. I think everybody knows where you are anyway if you carry a cell phone around with you, but we still think we have a modicum of privacy. So AI can really transform things in a better way, make it safer. Think the subway system or the L in Chicago. If you had a really good AI system that everyone knew every action was being monitored, or if you can spot a homeless veteran on the tracks or on the sub, you can help people with it. But there's always the temptation to abuse it. And that's not the computer's fault. That's the person's fault.
Well, I I did a little digression, but you were starting to say Secretary Duffy had 3 mantras. Go through that again. Tell me what going out to
Okay. Safety, innovate.
innovate. So you feeling that on the innovation front, there's a good momentum, there's opportunity.
I think there is. I was pretty impressed meeting with the new team at USDOT. They're very earnest and eager and dedicated to the proposition that all roads are created equal. And we've got to build better. We have so much old design and there's such a backlog, not just a bridge that can collapse. So people ask me, why did that Baltimore bridge collapse so catastrophically? The boat hit at one part. Well, that's because we're talking about 60-year-old design. And they don't design them that way anymore. But think of that bridge times 1,000, a million. They're all over the country. We have to get pretty serious about putting what we know now into actual practice. But that takes resources.
It does. And I've always said that engineering is iterative and we learn from tragedy. It's the truth, but um you have to, I think back to, California and San Francisco earthquake when it came to seismic design, right? Is that, people were coming from the East Coast to the West and building with masonry and brick and all of a sudden, you've got the ground shaking, you've got catastrophic failure, shear, and we learn from that. And it's unfortunate there is that loss of life, but in the case of the bridge, that, major destruction, but that's part of, you know, iterative design, learning from those failures and improving.
You know what I would add that we also learn from with these catastrophes and tragedies is how to do it quicker. Think of the Minnesota Bridge or the Sanibel Causeway after Hurricane Ian. The Sanibel Causeway was up and running 2 weeks after the hurricane. Why can't we do that all the time is my question. If you put the resources into it, and if you push away some of the processes that might be serving a purpose in somebody's mind, but maybe it's not such a good idea after all, that will save so much money, and that will save lives, and that will allow our economy to prosper if we get serious about certain life.
I will add one more to that, which is incentives. And we have seen in the past in California, when you really want a project to go quick, you incentivize the contractor financially, right? And it's taxpayer money, so we want to, we're not going to just throw it out there. But I think everyone wants projects to move faster and get built faster because construction is such a disruption. And if you can find, smart, appropriate ways to incentivize, I mean, you got to add that into your toolbox, right? So, absolutely. We've had a great conversation. Anything you want to say about, last words here on Illinois, on Chicago, and the work that you guys are doing?
Well, I'd like to think we are taking Secretary Duffy's mantra seriously on innovation, and we want to be the thought leaders as an industry to help bring better things to the motoring public. We're the crossroads of the country, not to diminish our neighbors or the rest of the country, but if it flies, floats, or rolls, we've got something to do with it. And you want to make sure it works efficiently and safely and for the benefit of everyone in the state and the country.
Brilliant. Love that. Thank you so much, Mike. And appreciate your time.